Hello and welcome to your news edition. These are the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, grants a periodic interview to the representatives of the national media. The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, chairs a ceremony for the celebration of the second anniversary of the Day of the People's National Army at the National Circle of the Army in Bni Masous. He honored the Army retirees, the families of the martyrs, the disabled and the wounded members of the Army in the fight against terrorism. The President of the Republic was honored by the Army General Saïd Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army. Welcome back. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, held a periodic interview with the representatives of the national media in which he mentioned national, regional and international issues. More details with Daniel Bahri.
The President of the Republic held a periodic media meeting with national media representatives and dealt with several regional and international issues. During this meeting, the President of the Republic affirmed the achievement of all of his commitments, especially with regard to the fires, such as extinguishing means and the inauguration of the burnt hospital. The President of the Republic said that providing the population with drinking water is a priority, stressing on the necessity of using treated water for agricultural irrigation. The President also mentioned that the housing programs won't stop in the future and that these programs have become 100% Algerian. Within the same meeting, the President underlined that his main concern is the middle class of the society, as it is one of the pillars of the country. He recalled that the gang has a lot of money, with which they try to bribe and influence media and journalists, a phenomenon which is considerably decreased nowadays, thanks to the law, and the Algerian society must show morals and common sense.
The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, arrived on Saturday afternoon at the National Circle of the Army in Bni Masous, Algiers, where he chaired an awarding ceremony marking the National Day of the People's National Army. Upon his arrival at the Circle of the Army, the President of the Republic was welcomed by the Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Saïd Chengriha. After listening to the national anthem, the President of the Republic reviewed detachments of the different military forces who gave him the honors before greeting the high-ranked officers of the People's National Army. On the occasion of the National Day of the People's National Army, the President of the Republic chaired a reward ceremony in honor of the army retirees from the National Liberation Army.
السيد رئيس الجمهورية
The families of the martyrs of the national duty, the disabled and the wounded members of the army in the fight against terrorism, the President of the Council of the Nation, the President of the People's National Assembly, the President of the Constitutional Court, the Prime Minister, the Councillors of the President of the Republic, the Army General Commander of the Republican Guard, the General Secretary of the National Defense Ministry, the Commander of the National Gendarmerie, the chiefs of sectors, the directors of central services at the National Defense Ministry, high executives of the General Staff and the government, and Mujahideens attended the ceremony. The ceremony was opened by a documentary highlighting the achievements of the People's National Army through the different periods of its history, the developments achieved by our army, and the availability of the troops in all circumstances. The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, honored the retirees of the People's National Army from the National Liberation Army.
اللواء المتقاعد كمال عبد الرحمن، العميد المتقاعد سالم بن عبد الله، العميد المتقاعد نور الدين بن قرطبي، العميد المتقاعد العربي عليوة، العقيد المتقاعد حمزة عوفي، العقيد المتقاعد الحسين مساوي، العقيد المتقاعد مسعود سيحية، العقيد المتقاعد علي بجاوي، العقيد المتقاعد محمد مهدي، العقيد المتقاعد بوعلام عزوز، العقيد المتقاعد أحمد الأخضر دريد، المقدم المتقاعد محمد علي بوغزالة، المقدم المتقاعد محمد طاهر عبد السلام، المقدم المتقاعد عبد القادر بن عاشور، المقدم المتقاعد عمر مشري، المقدم المتقاعد البشير التاوتي، المقدم المتقاعد عباس صوشة، الرائد المتقاعد علي ثابت، الرائد المتقاعد عبد الحميد مقراني.
The President of the Republic also honored the families of the martyrs of the national duty.
عائلة العميد الشهيد الشيخ أبو عمامة، عائلة الشهيد العميد يحيى عطاطفة، عائلة الشهيد العقيد مجيد بن حسين، عائلة الشهيد المقدم منير حجام،
During this ceremony, the President of the Republic honored the disabled members of the army during the fight against terrorism.
العقيد عبد الغاني بورنام. العقيد علي مجراب. العقيد جمال رحماني. المقدم توفيق رواي. المقدم أحسن معوش. المقدم أحسن بلام. المقدم محمد عسال، جريح وأيضا ابن شهيد ضحية إرهاب. الرائد محمد عبيدات.
تحية الجزائر.
النقيب محمد الحيوي. الرقيب الأول فيصل بورني. العريف الأول جمال حقاص.
The President of the Republic also honored the wounded members of the army during the fight against terrorism.
اللواء نور الدين حداد. اللواء حميد إبرير. اللواء صادق عرابة. اللواء كمال مراجد. اللواء سمير روينية. العميد عبد الله نيشان. العميد قويدر بن سنوسي. العميد عبد الحفيظ العاقل. العميد كمال حاجي. العميد فاتح شلوب.
The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of the National Defense, was honored by the Army General Said Changriha, the Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, for his continuing support to the People's National Army.
سيد الفريق أول رئيس أركان الجيش الوطني الشعبي باسمه الخاص ونيابة عن كافة مستخدمي الجيش الوطني الشعبي لتكريم السيد رئيس الجمهورية القائد الأعلى للقوات المسلحة وزير الدفاع الوطني بلوحة زيتية فنية تمثل جانبا من أول استعراض عسكري نظمه الجيش التحرير الوطني مباشرة بعد توقيف القتال في مارس 1962.
سيدي الرئيس.
At the end of the ceremony, the President of the Republic took a souvenir photo with the honored people. On this occasion, the high-ranked executives of the government honored the retirees of the People's National Army from the National Liberation Army, the families of the martyrs of the national duty, the disabled and the wounded members of the army in the fight against terrorism. The Army General Said Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, honored the disabled members of the army and the wounded in the fight against terrorism.
عائلة الرقيب الشهيد مالك بوناب. عائلة الشهيد الجندي حسن حميدي. الجندي نوار بوحناش. الجندي رفيق شايب راسو.
On this occasion, the Army General Said Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, held a speech in which he greeted the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
First of all, I would like to extend to the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, my warmest welcome, and to express my thanks and gratitude for having honored us today by presiding over this ceremony to celebrate the second anniversary of the National Armed Forces Day. I would like also to welcome the eminent personalities present here today.
وللسيدات وللسادة الحضور كل باسمه ومقامه.
The Army General Said Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, affirmed that the institution of the National Day of the People's National Army by the President of the Republic is the materialization of the highest symbols of loyalty and the valuation of the sacrifices of the members and executives of the People's National Army, descendant of the National Liberation Army.
هذا اليوم
This date marked a new milestone in the history of our beloved country, namely the reconversion of the National Liberation Army with all that it embodies in terms of values of sacrifice, bravery, fidelity and loyalty into the National People's Army. This date is also an opportunity to pay tribute to the heroes of independent Algeria, among those who gave their lives to preserve the Republic and those who made every sacrifice to keep the country standing in the face of barbaric and obscurantist terrorism. The establishment of this day by the President of the Republic reflects the deepest significance of the loyalty and recognition of the sacrifices made by the personnel and managers of the PNA, the worthy hire of the NLA from independence to the present day, as well as their active contribution alongside the other institutions of the state to the construction and development of the independent and sovereign Algerian state.
وإسهامهم الفعال والمتميز إلى جانب مؤسسات الدولة الأخرى في بناء الدولة الجزائرية المستقلة والسيدة وتطويرها في مختلف المجالات.
The Army General conveyed the President of the Republic's congratulations and greetings to all the members of the People's National Army deployed across the country and encouraged them to make more efforts to serve Algeria and the Algerian people.
في الختام أجدد شكري للسيد رئيس الجمهورية القائد الأعلى للقوات المسلحة وزير الدفاع الوطني
Finally, allow me to reiterate my thanks to the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, for having kindly presided over this ceremony. I would also like to pass on His High Authority's congratulations and greetings to all NPA personnel deployed throughout the country, urging them to make even greater efforts in the service of Algeria and its valiant people. I would also like to seize this opportunity to pay tribute to the valiant Shuhada and the valiant martyrs of the national duty, while calling on our children to adhere to the principles of our national revolution, which contributed to the liberation of Algeria in the past and are the guarantors of its present and future. This is a heavy responsibility that it's up to the children of Algeria to bear with sincerity and dedication.
مسؤولية ثقيلة يتعين على أبناء الجزائر أن يتحملوها بكل صدق وإخلاص.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, held talks with the High Representative of the European Union for the Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell. They mentioned the worrying development of the situation in Niger. Josep Borrell informed Ahmed Attaf of the measures decided by the European Union against the actors of the military rebellion in Niger. The two parts highlighted the necessity to exert political and diplomatic pressure to assure the return of the constitutional order in the Republic of Niger through the return of Mohamed Bazoum, the legitimately elected president of Niger. Attaf reaffirmed Algeria's conviction concerning the necessity of the political process to find a solution to this crisis. And with this, we come to the end of our edition. Dear viewers, thank you for being with us. See you soon.